My name is Hilda Thompson, and I am 60 years old. What I'm about to share isn't just a story, it's a warning. 3 days ago, I stood on a mountain cliff beside my husband, Robert. What was supposed to be a family outing nearly became our gravesite. Our son Nathan and his wife, Samantha, had invited us on what they called a special anniversary hike. They promised laughter, photos, and cherished memories. Instead, it became the day they revealed their darkest truth. The morning had been beautiful. Crisp mountain air filled my lungs, carrying the scent of pine. Birds flitted above us, their wings breaking the silence of the trail. Each step crunched softly against gravel, steady and peaceful. I glanced at Robert, his cheeks red from the climb, and thought how strong he still looked after 40 years together. Never once did it cross my mind that his strength would soon be tested in a way that could end both our lives. When we reached the summit, the valley stretched out endlessly below, a breathtaking scene. Samantha, with her usual bright smile, lifted her camera. "Step a little closer to the edge," she suggested sweetly. Robert hesitated, wary of the drop, but Nathan spoke up, his voice calm and reassuring, the same voice I had trusted since the day he was born. "It's safe," he said, moving behind us. "I'll be right here." Nothing will happen. And because he was my son, I wanted to believe him. A mother's trust is hard to shake, even when her instincts whisper otherwise. We stepped back, inch by inch. The rocks beneath my shoes shifted slightly, and I tightened my grip on Robert's hand. Samantha adjusted the camera, her tone cheerful but her eyes strangely sharp, urgent. Then, without warning, Nathan moved. His hands pressed firmly against my back, not gently, not accidentally, but deliberately. The earth disappeared beneath me. Sky and air swallowed my vision, a roar rushing past my ears. My stomach dropped, my heart seized, and then came the violent crash as I hit the rocks below. Pain burst through my body in every direction, leaving me barely conscious. Beside me, Robert fell hard, his landing echoing with a crack that made me want to scream. My lips parted, but his voice, ragged and broken, cut through my pain. "Hilda, don't move. Play dead." Those words became my lifeline. I forced myself still, eyes half-lidded, body limp. Above us, Samantha's shrill cry pierced the air. "Oh my God, it was an accident," she shouted, her voice trembling just enough to sound believable. Nathan joined in, his tone steady, rehearsed. "They slipped. They just slipped." In that horrifying moment, clarity struck. My own son and his wife had tried to kill us, and somehow, against all odds, we were still alive. But I knew this was only the beginning. The rocks beneath me were jagged, digging into my ribs with every shallow breath. My body screamed with pain, but I forced myself to stay limp, motionless. Robert's words, "Play dead," echoed in my ears like a command from somewhere far away. If Nathan or Samantha believed we had survived, they might finish what they started. I could hear them above us, their voices carried on the wind. Samantha was the first to speak, her voice laced with false panic. "Call for help, Nathan! Hurry!" But her tone lacked urgency. It was too polished, too practiced, as if this scene had been rehearsed. Nathan responded, his voice calm, controlled. Almost too calm for a son who had just lost his parents. "They're gone, Sam." "Look at them. No one survives a fall like that gone." He said it so casually, like he had been waiting his whole life to pronounce us dead. My heart broke in ways the rocks could never match. This was the boy I had nursed through sickness, the boy whose scraped knees I had kissed, the boy I had once trusted more than anyone in the world. I wanted to scream at him, to demand why, but Robert's hand, trembling yet steady enough, pressed against mine. His touch grounded me. His eyes, half closed, streaked with pain, spoke the truth I didn't want to accept. We had to stay quiet or we would not survive. Minutes passed like hours. My ears caught fragments of their conversation. "Do you think anyone saw?" Samantha asked, her voice dropping lower. "No," Nathan answered firmly. "We picked this trail for a reason. Remote, secluded. By the time anyone finds them, it'll be too late." The finality in his voice sent chills through me. He had planned this. My own child had planned my death. Finally, after what felt like forever, their footsteps retreated. Twigs snapped, gravel shifted, and then silence. They were leaving us, no, abandoning us, like garbage at the bottom of a cliff. When I was certain they were gone, Robert shifted slightly, his face twisted in pain. Blood streaked his forehead, and one arm bent at a terrible angle, but his eyes were alive, alert. "Don't move yet," he whispered. "We wait." So we waited. The sun crept lower, shadows lengthening around us. Each second stretched tight with fear. Fear that Nathan might return. Fear that Samantha's laughter might echo above. Fear that my strength would give out before we had a chance to escape. At last, when the forest grew quiet and darkness threatened, Robert gave me a nod. Now. With every ounce of willpower, I pushed myself upright. Pain radiated through my body, but I was alive. Somehow, impossibly alive. Robert gritted his teeth and sat up, his breath ragged. Together, we leaned on each other, two broken figures refusing to be erased. The cliff had not taken us. Our son had not taken us. But as I looked at Robert, his face pale with determination, I realized the hardest part was still ahead. We had survived the fall. Now we had to survive the truth. Climbing back up that cliff was not an option. The rocks were too steep, our bodies too broken. Every attempt to move sent a wave of pain tearing through my chest and down my legs. Robert's arm hung uselessly at his side, and the gash across his forehead bled steadily, darkening the fabric of his shirt. But we couldn't stay there. If Nathan and Samantha returned to check, they'd see we were alive, and this time they wouldn't leave without finishing it. "Downhill," Robert whispered, pointing toward a faint path that wound deeper into the trees. His voice was ragged, each word pulled through clenched teeth. "We need water." "Shelter. Then we plan." I nodded, even though I had no strength left. Each step felt like dragging my body through fire. The forest floor was uneven, littered with roots that clawed at my ankles. My palms stung from catching myself every time I stumbled. Still, I pressed forward. Hours blurred together. The world became a haze of branches scratching my face, dirt grinding into my wounds, and the sound of Robert's labored breathing beside me. At times I wanted to collapse, to let the earth swallow me whole. But then I'd hear Nathan's words again. "They're gone." No one survives a fall like that number. I refused to let his lie become truth. By nightfall, we found a shallow cave tucked behind a curtain of vines. It wasn't much, but it shielded us from the wind. Robert collapsed first, his body trembling with exhaustion. I lowered myself beside him, every muscle screaming, and forced my mind to stay sharp. "Why?" I whispered into the darkness. The question had haunted me since the moment Nathan's hands left my back. Why would my son, my flesh and blood, plot something so cruel? Robert turned his head, his eyes catching the faint moonlight. "Money," he said flatly. "It has to be. Life insurance, the house, the savings. To him, we're worth more dead than alive." The words hit harder than the fall itself. All those years of love, sacrifice, sleepless nights spent worrying about his future, reduced to dollar signs in my son's eyes. My chest ached, but this pain wasn't physical. It was betrayal carved straight into my soul. As the night deepened, I lay awake listening to the forest. Owls hooted, leaves rustled, and somewhere in the distance water trickled. I memorized the sound, clinging to it as a promise. We could follow it, find a stream, and keep moving. But another sound haunted me more. The echo of Samantha's fake screams, her shrill, "Oh my God," played on repeat in my mind. I saw her face wide-eyed with feigned horror, then curling into that satisfied smirk once she thought we were gone. They thought they had won. I shifted closer to Robert, my voice a whisper but fierce. "We will make it out of this. We will tell the world what they did." Robert's hand, weak but steady, found mine. "We will," he promised. And in that cave, bruised, bloodied, and broken, I made a vow. My son and his wife would regret underestimating us. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of their downfall. Morning light spilled into the cave, soft but unforgiving, revealing every bruise and cut on our battered bodies. My muscles stiffened overnight, but I forced myself upright. We couldn't stay hidden forever. If Nathan and Samantha reported us missing, a search might come, but only if they hadn't already crafted a story to cover their crime. Robert stirred beside me, his face pale yet determined. "We move," he said simply. "Follow the water. Find people. Then we tell everything." We leaned on each other, stumbling toward the faint sound of a stream I had clung to the night before. Hours dragged by, each step a battle. My throat burned with thirst, and when we finally reached the rushing water, I dropped to my knees and drank until the ache eased. Robert knelt beside me, his reflection rippling in the current. A survivor, but barely. As we rested, a question gnawed at me. What if Nathan came looking, not out of concern, but to ensure we were gone? The thought fueled my resolve. I wouldn't let him bury us with silence. By late afternoon, we stumbled onto a dirt path. Hope flickered when I spotted tire tracks, proof that civilization wasn't far. And sure enough, a truck rumbled into view minutes later. The driver, a kind-eyed man in his 50s, braked hard when he saw us. "Good Lord," he muttered, rushing to help. "What happened to you two?" Robert gripped his arm. "We fell." Off the ridge. But it wasn't an accident. His voice cracked, but his gaze held steady. "Our son tried to kill us." The man's eyes widened, but he didn't question us. He loaded us carefully into the truck and sped toward the nearest ranger station. At the station, medics treated our wounds while rangers called the authorities. I told them everything, from Samantha's fake screams to Nathan's chilling words. Robert backed every detail. The rangers listened closely, their expressions shifting from disbelief to grim determination. Hours later, when police officers arrived, they confirmed our worst fear. Nathan and Samantha had already reported us as tragically missing. They claimed we'd slipped at the cliff, painting themselves as heartbroken witnesses. But now, with us alive, their story collapsed. I will never forget the look on Nathan's face when the police brought him in. Shock, fear, and beneath it all, anger that his plan had failed. Samantha clung to him, tears streaming down her face, an actress caught mid-performance. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I simply looked my son in the eye and said, "You wanted me gone, Nathan, but I am still here, and the world will know what you tried to do." Silence followed, heavier than the weight of that $1,980 bill my mother once placed in front of me. But this silence belonged to him now. As they led Nathan and Samantha away, Robert squeezed my hand. Broken as we were, we had survived not just the fall, but the betrayal meant to end us. And survival was the one thing they never expected.